Hello, my friends and fellow travelers. I felt called by the spiritual guides to come on here today and talk about anxiety. And when I felt that calling, I was like, really? Because anxiety is something that I really struggle with at this point in my life, and I have not mastered. But if there's one thing that the guides have shown me about being a channel for wisdom, is that I don't have to have mastered it. I just have to be able to be a channel and convey it. So I'm always very careful with that when I work with people, to let them know that I am in no way saying that I've mastered the things that I've taught. Some things I've made a lot of progress on, and I'm very have grown. Um, Anxiety is not one of them. And the way that it came about today to talk to you guys about anxiety is that I was experiencing a great deal of anxiety. And what I've learned, so I'll just give you a little backstory about my journey with this issue, which is to say that I didn't really acknowledge or understand that I was struggling with anxiety until my 30s. And I had a teacher who was a clairvoyant, and we had a session together at the time. And I told her some of the things that I was experiencing, like body aches and pains and kind of fatigue and just some other things. And she said, "Oh, I think sounds like you have generalized anxiety." And even though I trusted this teacher a lot, I remember calling a friend of mine who also knew her and saying, like, she's off her game. I am not anxious. And part of it was because in my mind, anxiety looked a certain way, and I didn't fit that picture in my mind of what an anxious person looked like. But I did decide to go ahead and Google the symptoms of anxiety. And that's when I was like, oh, okay. It just doesn't look the way on me that I thought. So I would say that for, the most of the time that I've been aware that have had anxiety, it's been fairly mild. I've been able to manage my mental health with very natural things. I have a meditation practice. I do my best to eat well. I um exercise every day. And then also, just when I do feel anxious, I try to do things like deep breathing and prayer, and also just like resolving the issues. My anxiety can be, unlike some anxiety disorders like OCD or um, generalized anxiety disorder, where people just kind of live in that state. Mine can be quite circumstantial. Like, mine will spike according to circumstances. So I've learned to kind of mitigate and manage circumstances and recognizing what makes me anxious. Also my own thoughts. Like, sometimes I can make myself anxious by thinking about the future too much, or worrying or ruminating. So I've really worked on my meditation practice to manage my own mind, and just kind of be like, I don't need to think in the ways that I think that are problematic for me. But it kind of it spun out of control for me last year when I had an event on a highway, when I actually went into a full-blown panic, which I thought was a panic attack, and it was a panic attack. But this past year, I've been on a journey to heal myself, because that incident did not stop with one incident on the highway. It evolved into many, many, many incidences, to the point where I very rarely right now am driving on the highway. But through my exploration of this event and how it ties into other events in my life, what I've realized is that I have been having repeated flashbacks, post-trauma flashbacks. Well, they're almost a little like combat flashbacks, where my reality can become quite distorted when I'm driving on a highway at this point. And I have had, a very scary event on a highway when I was younger. So anyway, so that this past year, I have been on a really intense journey, because I've never had anxiety to this level. I've never experienced it to the level that it's debilitating. And I have gotten to the point in my journey where I feel grateful for the journey. I have learned so much. I have evolved a lot over the past year. I can tell that the help and assistance that I have to give, including in my private practice, is more. My compassion for people with mental health issues is more, because when you don't have a mental health issue that is debilitating, you don't understand it really for others. And so my compassion and understanding of what people go through with these things has increased. So that's a little backstory on me. It is ever evolving. I hope, I mean, obviously my intention is to be able to drive just like I used to normally. Um, but I have over the past year, went on a journey, and where I'm at with it right now is very much in alignment with my spiritual guidance and working with the divine. I took the journey of, I did the psychology thing with it. I went on the path to understand it. Where did this come from? Why am I like this? Um, I took supplements. I started, really, I got deeply involved in my yoga practice once again, which I had gotten away from. So I've deepened my meditation practice. Like, I really have done a lot to tackle it, but it is the spiritual part that I feel is really healing me. And that's what the guides want me to address with you all today. So I'm going to draw some cards. I'm going to close my eyes. I'm going to go into the channel. I do not want to make this a super long video. If we can do a part two. I just find that the shorter videos are probably you're probably going to click play as opposed to a very long video where it's like, I don't have time for that. So I'm just going to close my eyes for a minute. And if you struggle with anxiety, or you have a loved one who struggles with anxiety, just like join me here. Let's close our eyes and take a couple of deep breaths. And let go, let go of your stress and anxiety. Just bring yourself into the moment. Even if you're driving a car right now, or doing the dishes, or engaged in some other activity, just really pay attention to your breath. Pay attention to your feet. Pay attention to this moment. And there are three guides that are stepping forward. It's interesting the way that they present themselves. One is very tall and like cylindrical and thin, and then it's almost like the three bears. There's like a big one, a medium one, and a small one. And they all step forward together, and they are letting me know that they're kind of like this family of spiritual guides who are here to bring forth information for how we can spiritually address anxiety. And they're saying it's really very simple, and it's step 1, 2, 3. The first thing to help heal your anxiety is to find a way, your way. Don't let anybody tell you that there's only one way, but your way to get in contact with your soul, spirit, energy within. Because that part of you is not afraid. That, I'm going to say, they're making me, there's like, say it again. That part of you, which lives inside of you, is not afraid. So the way that has come about in my life is through a meditation practice. I have a spiritual guru that I work with. But find your way. The second thing, can I say this is a second thing, or is this secondarily, is don't give up trying, even if you have tried everything. Even if you're on medication that kind of mitigates it, you never know when the day might come when you might have to go off the medication, or the medication doesn't work any longer. So you want to continue to work on it. Finding answers to these kind of problems is like a Rolodex. There's a Rolodex of things to be addressed: physical, mental, emotional, your past history, energetics. And then, of course, what we're talking about today is your connection with the divine. So if you have just given up, which I totally understand, I just dealt with this. I've been dealing with this for a year. Some people, I know you've been dealing with it a long time. Some of you. The best thing that we can do for ourselves as evolving beings is getting really good at starting again. So if this is your, 1000th video on anxiety that you've watched, just use it as a reset button to start again. So You want to find that. They're saying there is that part in you. You have to find her. You have to find him. What part of you is not afraid, is not anxious, and start accessing that in calm times, i.e., meditation or other kind of spiritual practices, yoga, tai chi. Find your way. Very important to find how that you can connect. Now, that in and of itself is not going to like cure that frequency and, yes, habit of anxiety. I've developed in my system a habit of anxiety, and I don't necessarily even mean how I think, but my body will respond with anxious chemicals, cortisol, all those stress hormones in certain situations. So I've got to start reprogramming my system. That's what we need to do. So number one, we find the center point, and don't try to find it in the middle of anxiety. You find it in a practice, in a day-to-day experience when you are calm. Okay, so you've got that right. Second part, when you are in an experience of anxiety, you bring those two aspects of yourself together. Oh, I see now. Big, medium, small. These guys are so clever. They're so clever. The big, this is the Atman. This is the Om within you. This is the soul within you, the big one. The middle is we're bringing together these two parts. So for example, I was just driving to the store. It's the shortest trip possible. I know this route, but yet still today my anxiety was really up. And I'm not shocked because I pulled the hunter card this morning, which is about facing fear. So I kind of was like, maybe I'm going to be facing this today. So as I'm driving and that feeling, that flashbacky feeling is coming over me, and I'm on the easiest road. I'm going 25 miles an hour. It doesn't necessarily make sense. And so what the guides have shown me to do, which is what I'm conveying here today, is that I go into my third eye. I have a picture of my guru, Paramahansa Yogananda, on my dashboard. I took it and put it here, and I let it all be one. I didn't fight the anxiety. I didn't ask it to go away. I just let it sit side by side with my spirit energy. And I could feel that spiritual light energy just working on me. I have, and I, when I'm in tune with where I'm experiencing the anxiety, I can feel where it is in my energy system, and I guess kind of my body. It's all this left side. Like I've tried to explain to I have an EMDR therapist. I'm like, it's like right here. And so I just, as I was driving, I let those two parts of me be, kind of hold hands all the time, chanting. I am with, I don't remember what I was chanting, and I don't want to give the chant because it needs to make sense to you, but I think I was like, I am with my mother, divine mother. I am with my divine mother. I am safe. I am with divine mother. I am protected. And I just filled my mind with this thought. Again, I'm not filling my mind with the thought to like create a conflict with the other thought. I'm like, yeah, fearful stuff, you can be here, but I'm choosing this affirmation. So in a way, it kind of is doing this swirly twirly dance. And then at one point, I did feel a shift. And I felt how important it is for me to have these experiences of anxiety and bring in the light. So part of my healing experience, and since the guides are bringing this through, I believe part of yours also is going to be experiencing the anxiety. It's part of the healing, because we are walking through our disorders, our pain, our imbalances, our malfunctions, whatever you want to call it, the illnesses within. Once we have developed an illness of some sort, we have to journey through it. And I think sometimes with mental health illnesses, what we want to do is cut it off and move on. But we wouldn't, that's not, I mean, I guess we can try to do that with medication, where in a way we can just kind of put the kibosh on it. And sometimes we really need to dumb it down. We need to dial it down so we can work on it. Because if it's too much, no work gets done. I get that. But we want to keep working on it. So, the third part of this situation, this little part, this is our little baby fearful self that needs a lot of love, care, and attention. We have to learn to not hate our anxiety, to not necessarily wish it away, It is not random or a mistake that we develop or we're born with these things. It is part of our karmic journey, our spiritual curriculum. I have learned, even though I'm going to cry a little bit. There were definitely times last year when I was just like, I do not want this. I did not want it. It affected my life so deeply. I hated the way I felt. There were times when I stopped driving completely. Um, I didn't want to face it. I lost contact with some of my spiritual guides because the fear was so intense. But we have what we have, and life is unfolding. So even that stuff that we have in our lives where we say, I do not want this, I think in some ways the great loving being says, tough shit, this is yours. And just keep connecting with spirit. You're on a journey and it will evolve. You want to trust that it will evolve. Don't give up. Don't give up. So I want to wrap it up because I said I didn't want this to be very long. So again, the spiritual guides say you want to take that spirit within you. You want to access however you can that part of you that is not afraid. And then you want to merge it with that little part that's very, very afraid and let them have a relationship. And the big part of you will win out. It will transform. It will heal. There will be an intercession. How long will it take? I don't know. I'm still in my process with it. I feel like there was one other thing. Oh, about the keep going. Like this is the cheerleading part of the message. When I was really in the throes of it last year, or earlier this year, actually, where I just felt kind of hopeless about it and didn't know where to turn, I came across this quote that I want to share with you, and I'm not going to probably get it exact, but it was something to the effect of that every person walks through a dark valley at some point in their life. Those that keep going, that keep searching for the light, that keep searching for the next peak, they will emerge and they become the shaman. The people who stop and they sit in the dark valley become the sick people. And I read that and I felt the truth of that in my bones. And I thought, I became determined I'm going to be the shaman, which doesn't necessarily mean we're going to emerge and like become a shaman. What it means is that we're going to become the masters of something. We're going to make it through. We're going to have the fruits of our labor. So don't stop trying to get better. Okay. It does matter. We are eternal beings. We are here to evolve. And your problems and mental health, physical health issues, that's the curriculum for evolving. That's the test. So I know that I'm here in it with you, taking my tests, and some days are better than others. But just know that I will be here. I'll keep sharing my journey. Would love to hear about your journey, and I'll draw one card just to see what the guides have to say, to put a little cherry on top of their beautiful message today. Yeah. The sage card. Oh, I can't. There we go. Be devoted and committed. Don't stop. Don't stop. All right. Sending you all so much love. Talk to you soon.